Our April tip is about clarity, and clarity can be really challenging in our professional messages, primarily because we can't guess how people might misinterpret what we're writing. So, a couple of tips as we're thinking about how we can be more clear. And one of those is typically when we're thinking about clarity, we tend to read our messages back to ourselves and ask ourselves, does this make sense? And while that can be useful, we already know what we're trying to say. We already have context. We already have enough information. So I want to suggest that a better question is, how could my reader misunderstand me? And misunderstandings in writing can happen because we haven't provided enough information. When you think about things like abbreviations, we use a lot of abbreviations at work, and those can be a quick way to communicate with people who do know what that abbreviation means. But we can't use an abbreviation in our writing unless we're 100% certain that the other person is going to understand what that abbreviation means. And that's why the standard practice is when you use an abbreviation to explain what it is and put the abbreviation in parentheses after to define what that abbreviation means the first time you use it. And then you can use the abbreviation in the same document, throughout that same document, without having to continue to define it. So that's a really good habit to get into with a lot of the abbreviations that we use at work. You don't have to define every single abbreviation, every single message, obviously, but you really do want to define it if you have even the slightest doubt that the other person isn't going to understand what you mean. So we want to make sure that we're always providing people with enough information to understand our messages. Another thing we want to check for is, have we provided too much information? So if we think about how people are reading, right, which we've talked about the last couple of months, if people are skimming messages, they're not reading every single word, then putting in too much information can overwhelm them, can distract them from our central purpose of the message. And even at the sentence level, if the sentence is taking too long, people skip ahead, people, misinterpret things. So also, for clarity, trimming back our messages to see what words are really essential for our reader to understand the purpose of our message. And then also thinking about word order. So the order of words is the thing that we call grammar. The order of words is what a language uses, puts this words in these slots in order to communicate meaning. And if words are in the wrong order, then the meaning might be confused. So we have to read through our messages, making sure that all of the words are working in the way that we intend them. They're in the right place in the sentence. And one extra bonus when you're thinking about clarity is think about using the vocabulary that you use when you speak. That doesn't mean to write like you speak, because writing and speaking are different systems. We use the same language, but they work in different ways. So instead, I want to encourage you to read your writing back to yourself and see if all the words you're using feel like things that you could say. Does it sound like something that you might say? Does it sound like something that you could say to anyone you might encounter throughout the day? Whether that's the grocery store, the gym, work, or home, would those words work? The vocabulary that you're using, would they work with anybody that you ran into in any of those contexts? So as we're thinking about clarity, think about what can you take out? What do you need to add in? How is the word order supporting your meaning? How is your vocabulary supporting your meaning? And ask yourself, instead of, does this make sense? Ask yourself, how could the reader misunderstand? And hopefully those 4 strategies will give you some ideas for how you can best check for clarity in the messages you write for your job.